I'd like to call to order the school committee meeting of June 3rd, 2020. Will we please rise for the national Pledge of Allegiance. We'll get it out. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moment of silence. Thank you. You be seated. The listing of matters on the agenda are those reasonably anticipated by the chair which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed, in fact, may be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. This meeting will be live streamed for cable. A recording of this meeting will also be posted on the WB CAM website at www.wb-cam.org. Could we get a motion for approval of minutes from our May 10th school committee meeting?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We'd also like to introduce Sophia Nelson. She's our student representative this evening. Thank you for coming, Sophia. All righty. We start off with some recognitions. The New England League of Middle School Annual Scholar Leader Award winners. Mrs. Page.
Thank you. Good evening. These are the fun things. So every year, the NELMS, the New England League of Middle Schools, awards two students the Scholar Leader Award. This award is given to two students who, come on up you guys, I want to talk to you back. Colin Mayer and Kate Morrill. So these two students are being distinguished and awarded for their outstanding scholarship and leadership. Colin and Kate are dependable, they are respectful to themselves and others, and they're always there to help when needed for service to others. We're so proud to have them here in West Bridgewater, and we're happy to be able to call them Wildcats. So the recipients this year, Kate Morrill and Colin Mayer. They attended a webinar last week, I believe, no, May 20th, for the New England League.
Can we get a photo with them, Mrs. Page?
Sure.
Are you doing it? Oh, you're perfect.
So come in, kids.
Show us your award in the front.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. Awesome.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Can they show their face?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes. If you want to.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Congrats.
Congratulations, Kate and Colin. Congratulations. Nice job. Well done. Well done. Next, we have some retirees. Mrs. Goulet.
And before Mrs. Goulet gets up, I just want to say, we're so saddened to lose some of our greatest teachers who have shown such dedication to the children of West Bridgewater. We really feel it's important to recognize them for all that they have done over the years, tireless number of hours and dedication, and just a sheer number of lives that they have changed. So we're going to talk about each one individually, but in general, a tremendous loss to West Bridgewater, but we wish them the best.
So to start off with Anita LeBrock, she's been a preschool teacher in town for 24 years. I've had the pleasure of working closely with her this past year. And like Mr. Bodwell said, dedication and time. Mrs. LeBrock is known to start her email chains about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. And she is known to have the infamous key to the Spring Street School that lets her be in first. And that is just a small piece of who Anita is. She worked tirelessly this year to make sure preschool looked as close to what a typical preschool year could look like. And I don't know about you guys, but the fact that she can get down on the floor and right back up constantly throughout the day is impressive. She has a lot to do with the preschool program, the way it's been in West Bridgewater, and she'll be sorely missed.
And I can say that, going into her classroom to see her dancing around the kids and on
And
the floor
singing.
with the kids
Always singing.
and singing, it's a true joy to see.
And second, we have Mrs. Mary Mahoney, who has been with us for 25 years as a first grade teacher. I've had the pleasure of working with her for the past 6. Again, time and dedication. I have proof because we have a Ring camera now. She is the first person waiting at the door for the custodian to open the door every day. That's just a small piece of who she is. The minute the building is open in the summer, we can count on Mary being there, most of the time before us, to set up her classroom. This year was difficult for all. Mary was someone I could go to and say, I got this kiddo. He needs to be here 4 days a week. She would look and turn around in her room and say, all right, I have to figure out the spacing. And that's just a small piece of who Mary is, and she'll be sorely, sorely missed. So I'd like
She was
to,
outside today with the kids with her spray bottle, making sure they were nice and cool, always there for the kids. So thank you,
Absolutely.
Mary, for all you do.
so I'd like to present you. Yep.
Mrs. Page.
Yes, so Mary Graziano is another, Mary started here in 2001, I believe. I had the pleasure of teaching alongside her for many years when I was still in the classroom. Mary has been a junior class advisor, a yearbook advisor for many years, helping to run many of the events here for the junior class, as Sophia can attest to. She also is, why she's not here with us right now, is she's the coach for the tennis team, the girls' tennis, so they're offered a match, I believe, down in New Bedford, I believe. But I will say, Mary, it's bittersweet for her. I think she could probably still keep going, but I think she knows it's time to pass the torch and let some of, the new blood and generations to come in and work with our students, but she will be sorely missed. She's always had an amazing rapport with our students. I'll tell you, between staff and students, she has a nickname of Mama Graz. And anyone who you talk to, I think, would be safe to say that she really cares about kids. And we're going to miss her. I know I will. So here you go, Mayor. I'll give it to her tomorrow. Thank you.
Yeah, Mary's another one that really is dedicated to the kids, cares about the kids, and invested, be it events and for sporting events and the prom, and just that go-to person for these kids. So 3 individuals that we're sorely going to miss for all that they have done. The collective years of service and dedication to our kids is commendable. So thank you so much to all of our retirees.
Thank you. I'd just like to echo Mr. Bodwell's words. Mary and Anita, thank you so much for what you did for the kids over your years here, and hard work, dedication. We can't say thank you enough for everything you've done for the kids. So thank you.
I wish you all the best in your retirement as well. Everybody should enjoy.
All right, moving on. We're going to take a short break so we can get our students, if they want to go home, they don't have to stick around, or I reckon if people would like to leave, and then we'll come back in a few minutes. Congratulations, everyone. Thank you. Superintendent's update, Mr. Bodwell.
All right, the first thing we want to talk about is graduation. Again, graduation's kind of is the highlight, I think, of the year, really the culminating event for all of our kids in town and for our community. I think it's always been an event that people have come to, really excited to see our kids walk across that stage and recognize all that they have done. Mrs. Page did an outstanding job getting us ready. We moved the time up a little bit, and there was a lot of hard work that went into that with all of the staff to make sure we contacted each and every family to make sure they were able to make that time change. And it all worked out pretty good with that rain starting right as they started to walk across and receive their diplomas. So it was an amazing night. I thank everyone who was involved in that. And Mrs. Page, if you want to say a few words about it, that'd be great.
I think so, yeah.
Just
Well, it's just for the stream.
So yes, huge shout out to all of our families. They were so gracious with the quick change because we really wanted to be able to have it outside to allow, the most spectators and guests for each child. So if we had to come inside, it would have only been 2 family members. So each student was able to have 6, which was great. The kids were amazing with all the disappointments along the way. They rose to the occasion. I think the parents, it's great to be able to see your child graduate, and I'm so happy that we were able to do it. And yeah, the rain held off for us, so we were very lucky. Thank you.
thank you, Mrs. Page. And then parent survey data. I think the last thing people want to see from me is another survey. So this was the last survey of the year. But I want to thank all the families that responded. We had 260 responses, but they could respond for more than one child. So we probably had, close to about half the population, depending on the number of kids. And I got some good feedback. And my goal was to take this feedback and take what we've learned from COVID to improve instruction, to improve things that we do on a regular basis moving forward. That's always been our goal. We could easily probably identify some of the negatives, but we really wanted to look at the positives that we could take away. So I'm going to go through a few of those positive changes through all those different responses. And again, 260 is great because this was not just a checkoff. People had to write, and a lot of people wrote a lot of good information. So I'm trying to summarize those and hit the highlights. The thing that came out big was that staff continued to be welcoming, caring, supportive, and positive to our students throughout the pandemic. Google Meets was seen as a positive for parent-teacher conferences, IEP meetings, coffee hours, and for instructional practices. It was a new way of teaching in the masses, especially during the hybrid learning model. So that was positive. That we took away, what we learned, that we could all be challenged, and the West Bridgewater students and staff will respond and make the most out of it. I think there was a lot of praise for doing what's right, doing the best for our kids throughout. Probably the biggest one was remote snow days. A lot of people talked about having remote snow days in the future. We'll see what DESE decides. They had taken that away, those blizzard bags. They may bring it back, but it's definitely we know now how we can educate our kids even if they're not fully with us in person. Due to good hygiene, hand washing, social distancing, covering coughs, and the cleaning protocols, far fewer number of students just getting sick in general. I think across the country, the number of flu cases was way down, but taking away some of those, procedures and protocols will be good moving forward. The consistency of using Google Classroom and Google Docs was very good. Because now we're on that one platform where before we had kind of been all over the place in different platforms. So trying to drive down to that one common platform, I think, was helpful. A lot of feedback on getting outside more often for learning, for snack time, for breaks, for lunch, and just the overall healthy behavior of being outside. We saw that today with the heat. They're finding shady spaces, but it really was good for their, I think, mental and physical well-being. Communication was very important. I think that's another big takeaway for us, is trying to inform parents in the community of things that we're doing, being transparent and informative at the same time. We learned that students and staff, miss seeing each other. I think we have a really caring staff. We've got great kids and families. But I know personally for me, walking in and seeing the kids and seeing the families when we started having parents back in was important for us. I think that brings us all closer together. Families reported becoming more informed about what the students were learning. Some of that was due to the hybrid learning. They were listening in, they were hearing what's going on, but they were much more informed, they reported. Live streaming of events, athletic events and other school events is something that came through, is something we really need to look to continue. Not only if they just can't make it because they're at home, or maybe they're out of state and grandparents or other relatives or friends from across the country can watch these live. The creativity of the teachers to do things differently. We turned on a dime. The teachers were great about trying to do new things, so that was important. More frequent breaks. I was talking to one teacher, and they said, even though we're not doing mask breaks, next year, hopefully, that we're having some kind of breaks because they felt kids, when they came back into the classroom, learned better from that. We'll once again have the free lunch program next year for all of our students. That took a little bit of stress, I think, off some of our families, which was important. And a lot of them reported a break from homework. Looking at all the kids do during the day, how busy they are, and prioritizing where homework stands. That's something we'll talk about as an administrative team this summer. Improved technology in the district and online learning. We had to really figure it out quickly how to do this, and we've made great use of the resources that we have, including the Chromebooks for all students, getting that technology in the hands of our kids, the continued focus on the safety of the students and staff, and the drop-off and pick-up procedures at the schools. It looked a little bit different. Sometimes it took a little bit more time, but I think we'll see what works and we'll continue it, and what doesn't work, we'll look to change it back. And I found one out of the many, many bits of information. I took this quote from one of the parents, and I said, "This pandemic made me realize how grateful I am that we live in this small, caring community where we can quickly adapt to anything." And I think that kind of summarizes a lot of it. This was a team effort. Everyone worked together. We spent countless hours from last summer to today, working on things, perfecting things, but it wouldn't have been possible without everyone's effort. And that's, from the administrative team, teachers, students, parents, everyone really stepped up and did a great job. And I think we're all proud of it. And that's because we're a good team. So everyone did their part. I don't know if you had any other comments of any things I may have missed, but that's kind of the general feedback I took out of that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, student representative update. Sophia? Yeah, you probably, because I don't think there's no microphone, so you'll have to get up, please.
Send-off. On Friday the 21st, the last day of school, all seniors attended safety training and informational sessions, followed by their car parade and cookout. Wednesday the 26th was the senior awards and scholarship night. Thursday the 27th was the senior reception, where all seniors received their yearbooks. Friday the 28th, graduation was held on the athletic field. The high school math and biology MCAS was held today, June 7th, and tomorrow, June 8th. Chicago the Musical will be held next week, June 9th through June 11th at 7 in the Middle Senior High School auditorium. Tickets are on sale in the main office of the Middle Senior High School, $15 per person. Joelle Cameron and Thomas Sheedy received their St. Michael's Book Award last week during the morning announcements. The 8th grade did an amazing job with their civic project. They have met their goal of $800 to support the Andrewsy Foundation. For the Howard School, it has been a busy month at Howard. We just wrapped up MCAS testing, and our students did a wonderful job considering how much they've gone through this year. 2 weeks ago, we welcomed Nature's Classroom for our 6th graders. The weather was beautiful, and we enjoyed a program at multiple sites around WB for the entire week. It didn't replicate the overnight experience, but it was a wonderful program. Our 6th graders are excited to move up onto the Middle Senior High School. They toured the school 2 weeks ago, and on June 8th, we'll have a moving ceremony to celebrate their hard work over the last 3 years. Lastly, we are excited to host the 3rd graders for their tour of the Howard. It will be exciting to have new students here in the fall. The Rosa McDonald School. Grade 3 decided that once they hit 26 days left of school, they would do a Z through A backwards countdown. Each day has a theme based on the letter of the alphabet. They've done STEM activities using zip ties, played music and games using pool noodles for End Day. Grade 3 will also be celebrating Hawaiian Day and doing things such as decorating using Frisbees until we finally get to A, which is Away Day. On Away Day, the students will dress up as tourists, as it will be their last time living in our school. Their kids have been loving it, and it's a great way to have a little fun at the end of an unprecedented year. The grade 3 parents put together a fantastic field day for our 3rd graders as well. On Friday, the theme was the sweet days of 3rd grade, and students participated in multiple stations, had a visit from an ice cream truck, and even had a cotton candy machine. Field day ended with a class versus class tug-of-war. The Spring Street School. The kindergarteners were excited to take a field trip to the McDonald School last week. They were able to meet the 1st grade teachers, walk through the classrooms, visit the specialist rooms, and walk through the cafeteria and lunch line. Some classes were able to explore the playground and enjoy snacks outside.
Thank you very much, Sophia. All right, on to business. Collaboration between the library and the schools. And we do have our library director with us tonight.
Thank you so much for letting me come in and talk to you. I'm here with my assistant director, Laura Williams, and we're just trying to get sort of start a proactive, positive planning of our fall in terms of after-school behavior. As many of you know, a lot of kids come from the various schools. We're right on campus. A lot of kids come over to the library after school, and then, they want to socialize, they want to have fun, they want to relax. But the numbers of people that we're dealing with after school has been very, very challenging. And some of the behaviors, I have to say, I've worked in 3 different communities as a librarian, and the West Bridgewater School Administration has been absolutely the best to work with. You have a very responsive administration. They know the kids' names. We don't always know the kids. And so when I call over here, Mrs. Page or Mr. Bodwell and Mr. McLaughlin have been very, very helpful in terms of identifying kids who are really struggling with self-control. I just want to say that my purpose for talking to you about this is that just like everything else in West Bridgewater, it really has to be a community effort. We can't do it alone. We're just, there are only 8 staff members at the library, and only 4 of us really are on the floor after school dealing with the kids and trying to make sure that everybody is safe and comfortable and getting their needs met. And yet our numbers can be just overwhelming. So I'm talking to you as community leaders, but I also am talking to parents out there. What I'd love for us to be able to do is to send the memo that I have created, send that out to parents, and just remind people of the purpose of the public library as a place of study, of congregating in small groups, programming, absolutely. We really want to do after-school programming where it's possible. We cannot be a drop-off center that handles children from sometimes on early release days, 11:30, sometimes don't get picked up till 5 or 6 in the evening. We just can't function that way. We don't have the staffing, we don't have the space, we don't have the facilities to do that. So I'm sort of thinking that talking to people now in June, where we've had this COVID break, we'd like parents to start planning their child's after-school experiences for the fall so that they have, even if they're in 7th grade, they may need a more structured environment. Maybe they need to get into sports or drama or go home with a buddy or something like that. But to use the public library as the older child daycare facility, which is kind of the way sometimes it feels on a bad day, it just doesn't work. Sometimes we know the kids' names, sometimes we don't. We don't have the authority that a teacher has or a school administrator has in terms of, discipline or following up. Luckily, we have people on the school staff who have followed through and been extremely helpful. But, we've been before COVID started, we were dealing with some fairly serious vandalism that we had 2, our large windows in front, both of them were cracked intentionally, and those have to be repaired. We had a front door kicked in. I mean, these are things I wasn't, discipline was taken. Consequences were dealt out. But what I'm trying to do is to create a civil convivial, warm, and welcoming atmosphere at the library where everyone is welcome, but there are expectations of behavior. And so to the parents out there, I really stress that after school, even if your child is in middle school, especially if your child is in middle school, you really do need to take some thoughtful steps in terms of programming or supervision that don't necessarily involve dropping your kid off, having the kid walk over to the library and then not picking them up until late in the day, because it's just simply not working. And the irony is there's so many after-school programs we'd love to do. You know, I know 3D printing. I have podcasting under my belt. Michelle and Nanette had a TikTok club. I mean, we've got a lot of fun stuff we'd love to do, but what we discovered was the children who are the most difficult to manage, they don't want to be in a program. They just want to hang out with their friends. And, you know, it's an understandable urge. But then when you take a staff member away from, you know, the general supervision of the building and have them go off with 5 or 6 kids doing a special program, it just puts a greater burden on the rest of the staff. So I've told my staff that we're not going to do any after-school programming until we get the after-school behavior under control. And when we have an after-school atmosphere that is positive and conducive and will allow, you know, elderly people are, you know, they're afraid to come in the afternoon because they don't want to trip over book bags or deal with, you know, bad language or, you know, coarseness. We want everybody to be able to use the library after school. It shouldn't matter what age you are, whether you're a toddler or a new parent or, you know, an 80-year-old reader. I mean, everybody is welcome after school. And so I'm appealing to you for support. I'm appealing to parents to make plans for the fall. And I just think it would be great to get this back under control. It really would. I think we would be a better service to the community if we, you know, didn't have to be constantly, you know, managing, you know, difficult behavior. So anything else you want to add, Laura, to that? Yeah, we've both experienced this frustration, and we'd love to get it solved. And I really feel we can, because it's a small community. Everybody is on board, you know, and wants to have the library function in the way, you know, we do. We've been doing 7th grade book talks, 4th grade book talks, 5th grade book talks. We're really trying to engage kids in reading, but it's difficult to have clubs and stuff like that when we're just simply managing, you know, the safety of the building. Does anybody have any questions for me about this? Or I'm not really looking for answers to it. I need some affirmation from you that you will help.
I'm going to chime in. I don't have any questions for you, but I want to thank you for coming out and for reaching out for collaboration. I have a daughter at Howard, and she participates in the Surround Care program, so I think now is a good time to at least plug that for 4, 5, and 6, that is a service that the public schools offers. I will second what you're saying, that, you know, on the library grounds, in Friendship Park, in between, anywhere between the Howard and the library, there are kids who are not enrolled in Surround Care but are hanging out and don't have the best behavior and do have challenges with self-control. Contributes to litter all over your property, all over the playground, and so, you know, I look forward to collaborating with the library to come up with some solutions so that we can make the library and the playground a safe and welcoming spot for all kids.
Come to us about the playground too, and it's sort of an issue. But I also, another big message then, you know, dovetailing with your message is, I think we need to give all adults permission to say something to a kid who's using foul language. Just, you don't have to come down with a sledgehammer. But I think it's important to say, you can't talk like that with little kids around. You know, it's not okay to speak to each other this way, or, you know, you really, you know, tone it down a little bit. I think if, you know, it takes a village to raise a child, and I think we all need to step up and not be afraid. You know, I don't think we should be disciplining necessarily other people's children, but I think we can be engaging in a positive way. And I think it's sort of the onus is on all of us to do that, because, you know, these are all children. And the thing is, on an individual basis, They're great kids, every single one of them. We've made individual connections with almost every single one of them. But when they get into a group, you know, it's sort of like the law of the jungle sort of takes over, and, you know, they kind of, you know, the coarseness comes out sort of thing. So I just think that if we all, you know, try to engage a little bit, it doesn't have to be, you're not disciplining someone else's child, you're simply responding and saying, like, I think you maybe need to take some time outside, or, you know, sit out. We've got tables and chairs, you know, we've got the benches outside. We're trying to find places for them to hang out that are safe. But thank you for that, for that support. Okay, well, I talked to Mr. Bodwell about, you know, maybe revamping or, you know, making some small corrections to this memo. I'd love to get this memo out on cable TV, out through the packets for parents, because we are on your campus. We want to collaborate. We'd love to collaborate, and we'd love to do even more than what we're doing now. And if we can get the behavior under control, we'll be able to do just so much more. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think you've always been willing to do things in the best interest of kids. I understand your concerns, and we're definitely going to work with you because the library has a lot to offer for the kids, and we appreciate that. It's in a great place for that collaboration, and I think it's just continuing that relationship because I think there's good things that will come out of it.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. There is so much we can do. I'm telling you, I have an incredibly creative staff, and they want to do this really cool stuff. But I've told them we've got to get this under control first before we move on. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much for coming out. Next on the item is our FY22 budget fully approved.
So just wanted to thank the community for supporting our budget. I know through town meeting it was fully passed. I think we're excited to move forward. It does take a village. It takes everyone working together. I appreciate the support of the school committee, wanting to fund everything that we need to fully run our schools. So working with Mrs. Grant, we're excited to, you know, continue into FY22. But I just wanted to take the quick opportunity to thank everyone for their support.
Thank you. Thank you for your hard work, Mrs. Grant. Thank you. Okay, next up is our Superintendent Evaluation. So we're going to run through this a little bit. This is the evaluation of Mr. Bodwell done by the school committee. We had 6 participants this year go through with it. One of our members is going to share her thoughts at the end, and then also one of our former members during the public comment time is going to share some of her her thoughts and ideas, Mrs. Sullivan. So, Ms. Sullivan, thank you for taking the time to fill out the form as well. So, in our evaluation, we had some different questions and steps. So step 1 was to assess the progress towards goals. There were 4 categories we could check. It was a did not meet, some progress, significant progress, met or exceeded. So on the student learning goals, we had 5 members all agree for the met. Mr. Bodwell met that topic. Under professional practice, we had 4 significant progress, 1 met. Under district improvement goals, we had 1 significant progress and 4 met. In the step 2, our assessment performance on standards, there were 4 sections. We went, again, unsatisfactory, needs improvement, proficient, exemplary. Standard 1 was instructional leadership, 5 proficient. Management and operations, 5 proficient. Family and community engagement, 5 proficient. And the 4th one was professional culture, 5 proficient. Step 3 was an overall summative performance. And in this category, there was unsatisfactory, needs improvement, proficient, exemplary, and we had 5 proficient. So that was the first section of our thing. I'm not sure if any members would like to make any comments on that section. If not, we will move on. Okay.
I can wait till the end. That's
Okay.
fine.
Okay. Next section, superintendent's performance goals. Mr. Bodwell had 3 goals that he was working towards this year. His first goal during the 2020-21 school year, I will monitor and evaluate the reopening of the West Bridgewater Public Schools during the year to ensure safety of all. Security and teaching and learning guidelines are being followed in the best learning and educational interest of staff, students, and the community to ensure the students are getting a high-quality education regardless of learning model. Again, this we had five different options here. Did not meet, some progress, significant progress, met or exceeded. Under the student leadership goal, Mr. Bodwell received 5 met. Professional practice leadership goal, number 2. During the 2020-21 school year, I will support and monitor the administrators in the district and provide them with a high-quality feedback to help improve their professional practice within their school and school community. Walk through observations as well as through gathering information and insight from students and families, and through an active participation in the NISP New Student Induction Program. New Superintendent Induction Program. Under this goal, Mr. Bodwell received 4 significant progress and 1 met. On the third goal, during the 2020-21 school year, I will establish and provide effective communication to the students, families, and the community while being visible within the district. Excuse me. The goal is to provide families with school and community information, as well as work to create and enhance partnerships with the other town organizations. Information gathering will allow me to review where the areas are to focus on moving forward as I work with my new entry plan in my first year. On this one, we had 1 significant progress and 4 met. Okay, in our next section, superintendent performance. These were broken down into 5 different categories. The first category was curriculum. Mr. Bodwell, in this section, it was unsatisfactory, needs improvement, proficient, and exemplary. Under the curriculum, Mr. Bodwell received 5 proficients. Under instruction, there was 2 needs improvement and 3 proficients. Under assessment, there was 5 proficients. Evaluation, there was 3 needs improvement, 2 proficients. And then data-informed decision-making, 5 proficients. And then this was an overall rating of this section was on all 5 proficient. I would like to just make the comment on this one section. I think the evaluation process probably, with the needs improvement, just because of the situation we were in, there was probably not a lot of time out there to evaluate, get to everywhere you wanted to get to, Mr. Bodwell, as far as seeing everybody and getting everything done. I'm not sure if anybody else has any. Wait. Next section, same type of issues. We had unsatisfactory, needs improvement, proficient, exemplary. The first section was environment, 5 proficients. Human resources, management, and development, 5 proficients. Scheduling and management information systems, 5 proficients. Law, ethics, and policies, 5 proficients. Physical systems, 5 proficients, with an overall rating of proficient. The next section, again, unsatisfactory, needs improvement, proficient, exemplary. Engagement, 5 proficients. Sharing responsibilities, 5 proficients. Communication, 5 proficients. In family concerns, 5 proficients with an overall rating of proficient. And then our last section, again, unsatisfactory, needs improvement, proficient, exemplary. Commitment to high standards, 5 proficients. Culturally proficiency, 5 proficient. Communication, 5 proficient. Continuous learning, 5 proficient. Shared vision, 5 proficient. And managing conflict, 5 proficient, for an overall rating of 5 proficients. Those are the categories and the overall ratings that we did. I know some of us would probably like to make some further comments, so we'll open it up. Mrs. Hume?
Sure. I did make the comment on the overall evaluation. Well, first of all, it was difficult to use the standard rubric in such a crazy year. So, but overall, to take over the role of superintendent of schools is challenging in normal circumstances. To do it in the midst of a global pandemic is truly unprecedented. Mr. Bodwell faced the overwhelming challenges of the past year head-on, always considering the students first. He remained patient and calm and continually demonstrated sound judgment no matter what came his way. His understanding of the challenges facing our students and his high standards of ethics, honesty, and integrity are indicators that WB will continue on its path towards fostering lifelong learners and responsible citizens. Well, thank you very much for all
Thank
of
you.
your hard work over the past year.
Thank you.
Mrs. Dragonetti?
Sure, so I'll jump in. I declined to actually rate Mr. Bodwell because I'm the newest member of the committee and only have had 2 months, actually when I filled this out, 6 weeks on the job. I really did not have, it wouldn't have been fair to give you ratings without having seen the entire year. Of course, Mr. Bodwell provided an extensive plethora, a Google Drive of evidence. So I did, however, because as I've said to many of you already, and to Mr. Bodwell, Mr. Brevity is not my strong suit, so I did provide extensive narratives. I did want to comment, there were some needs improvements on here, and I just kind of want to shift the mindset on needs improvement, because in education, I'm well versed with doing these evaluations, as I have to do my own every single year. And to get a needs improvement is really developing. It's a developing educator. And when you look at an educator in the first 3 years of the job, you wouldn't expect them to be 100% proficient, because it implies that there's no room for growth. So in my narrative, I really went through and looked at strengths and weaknesses across the board. First of all, you should be commended for your dedication and your perseverance through this year, because it's been a crazy year, and it almost seems unfair to use this rubric that is designed for a regular non-pandemic year where all children are in person 5 days a week to rate you. It really seems truly unfair this year. I did want to say, though, that you have significant areas of strength, and the 2 standards that really stood out to me were standards 2 and 3, so management and operations and family and community engagement. Management and operations specifically because that really took the forefront this year, having to reopen schools in the middle of the pandemic. And I know that you worked tirelessly, numerous surveys and emails, and just one of the first things you said to me was, my door is always open. If anyone wants to come talk to me, come in and talk to me, whether that be staff or school committee or community member or student or parent. And so your family and community engagement really shines in comparison to all of your other areas. Some areas that I see not as needing improvement but as developing, that might be areas for focus in the future. Curriculum development. I know we've spoken at length about social emotional curriculum and developing that. I think simply by the nature of the year, you demonstrated in your evidence that supporting your teachers, you did the very best you could, but there were so many social distancing guidelines, and opportunities to get in there were a little more limited than they normally would. So I think that's also an area for growth. And then in the 4th standard, professional culture, I think that is also an area for growth in terms of just curriculum development, cultural proficiency. Again, we've had extensive conversations about diversity, inclusion, equity across the board. And so I think that you are well aware of some of the areas, and I look forward to seeing what you come up with next year and seeing how you grow over the next 2 years till you reach, full, being familiar and fully proficient in your role. So I thank you for the opportunity to give you the evaluation, and look forward to seeing what you do.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Good. Molly, good?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for sticking with us this past year. And really, when we were speaking with you, when you were coming on as a superintendent, really what your greatest strength was is your love of the West Bridgewater community. And at the end of the day, that's what we needed this past year, and you showed up with that. And thank you for that.
Thank you, appreciate it.
And Mr. Bardwell, I'd just like to thank you as well. I think you represent this community very well. You're hardworking, you put us before you, and you care about just West Bridgewater in general. It was a difficult year to come into, pandemic and all, and just it being your first year. So obviously there's a learning curve, but I don't think that we could have had a better individual in this position to lead us to the end. So thank you for
Thank you,
this year.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Bardwell.
No.
Thank you very much.
It's been my pleasure, and I genuinely thank you for the feedback and the comments, and I'm looking forward to going through all of it and seeing what I can do to improve, because that's my goal. My goal every year, whenever I'm evaluated, is to reflect and to look at it and see what I can do better, because there's always something I can do better, and I'll continue to do the things that have been successful and try to add in as best I can all those other areas to strengthen those as well. So I appreciate your support. This has been a tough year. The entire committee has been wonderful to work with, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, that we work well as a team, and that's in the best interest of everyone. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Next under business, discussion on the food pantry's building use over at the Spring Street School. We have a subcommittee of Mrs. Smith and Mrs. Dragonetti who head up Safe Schools, and this has become a topic along with our SRO officer, Officer Pope. And you guys like to fill us in on some of the discussions?
Sure. It was brought up at our last Safe School Committee meeting that it was time to find a new space for the food pantry. So Officer Pope updated us on some concerns that he had. We've also further looked into some space needs that the school has. When the food pantry first came to be housed at the Spring Street School, we didn't have full-day kindergarten or preschool eating at the school. So we've had full-day kindergarten for quite some time now. And next year there's plans to expand the lunch program with the preschool. So there's those two things. There's some other issues going on, but Officer Pope is, he is really spearheading this and already has some volunteers and things. And I'm not as close to the food pantry end. I know, were you able to reach out to the food pantry?
I did send them an email on Friday, but I have met with them, the two co-coordinators of it, and they're very willing to take feedback, and they do a great job, and they're very compliant in terms of what can we do working together. So they're looking forward to continuing that relationship as we continue to look at all options.
So they obviously weren't able to come tonight to talk about it, but so they're looking at other spaces that they can move to?
That's part of the discussion we had a couple of weeks ago when we met about any other potential spots.
Yeah.
And I think after we have this meeting tonight, I'll follow up with them and try to schedule a time to meet with them after.
Okay.
And so I'll just kind of jump in a little bit based on the discussion at Safe Schools. Yes, they've definitely, all of the food pantry as well as the school has outgrown the space. Moved to full day kindergarten. I know that Donna was just sharing with me some numbers in terms of meals served for breakfast and for lunch. And so, plus we have these larger populations coming in with the bubble groups. And so, there are just more kids in the school at any given time, which lends to some safety concerns as well, having members of the community in the building while our students are there. Sometimes Officer Pope had referenced that sometimes the door gets propped open. Sometimes not everyone checks in. And it's understandable in order to run an efficient program. They kind of have people coming and going, but it's really concerning because you have members of the community in and out of the building at any given time, and you never know. I mean, these are 4- and 5-year-olds with the door propped open. It's definitely a concern. So I love that we have been able to support the food pantry as long as we have, and I look forward to continuing to support them and finding them a new space so that everybody can have their needs met.
Thank you. I did have a chance to speak to Officer Pope this afternoon as well. He conveyed to me as well as your meeting some of his concerns, and This is why we have Officer Pope. I mean, this is his judgment, and what he thinks we should be doing is what we should take his advice, and we should, obviously, Officer Pope told me that he had some volunteers willing to help, relocate. He had a company contact him that would help move equipment. I think it would be upon us, we more than willing to help the food pantry relocate. We also need the food pantry to help along too, and try to come up with some ideas what would be a nice spot for them to move into. Nobody wants to just, end this program. This program is meant too much to the community and whatnot. I know there's been some concerns also as far as electrical work. That's the oldest building we have too, with the amount of equipment that's plugged in over there, and now the amount of food that we are going to be needing to serve with schools. So I really do value Officer Pope's opinion in this case, and I really think as a committee we should really take a hard look at it and take his advice on this, and start having some more meaningful conversations about this as we get going, and hopefully have something solved before the kids come back into that building in the fall, in August actually, late August, early September. Anybody else have any?
I was just going to chime in just on the space piece too, because I did talk to Anne Marie Grinder about it, and she had told me that when, as little as 8 years ago in the Spring Street School, they served maybe 5 breakfasts and 40 lunches on a good day. And now their numbers are ranging around 82 breakfasts and 80 lunches. So they've grown so much in a short time. And she's been actually helping out with the cooking over there to fill staffing needs. And she did say like they're just busting at the seams because of their program growing so much. As the food pantry, they need more space too. Both sides have purchased additional equipment recently, and that it's tricky to find the space, and like you mentioned, the electrical outlets to support the new freezers and refrigerators. So I think if we're able to help the food pantry find a new home in town, I think it would be sort of a win-win on both sides. So I'm willing to help any way I can too with that transition. I mean, and she had nothing but positive things to say about food pantry. She said the volunteers there made trips to the Boston Food Bank for us when the pandemic first hit, and they're always pleasant to work with. So we look forward to helping them find a new home in town.
Okay.
And I think that's the important thing, is we're going to continue to work with them, support them. It's great for our community. It affects our kids and our families, so we certainly want to work with them to support all the good things that they're doing.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank Mrs. Dragonetti, Mrs. Smith, thank you for the update as far as the safe schools. On to approval of policies. Mrs. Hume and Mr. Yo.
Yes, we had our building use form, community use for school facilities, the athletic fee schedule, and the application for use of athletic fields on the agenda. I spoke with Mrs. Grant over the last week, and the field hockey group that had submitted an application to use the space has rescinded their application. So since there are no requests right now, and since the business office is quite busy, Mr. Yo and I decided we'd like to just keep this policy open for now, and we'll aim to meet over the summer to review it and review any changes to the pricing. So we'll just keep that one open for now.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Face coverings, Mrs. Smith.
Yes, so in our face covering policy that we put into place in September or October, we have in there that we need to rescind the policy, and since there have been changes in the mandates and the regulations, it's time that I recommend that it's time we rescind our policy because it's no longer up to date, and that we just continue to move forward with what the state mandates are. So it requires basically we don't need a mask policy anymore because we follow the state guidelines.
Okay, now do we need to take a vote to remove the policy, or?
So as the policy is written, it is in place until we rescind it. So
Okay.
the way I take rescinding it is that we need to vote on
Rescinding
the policy. So,
All right.
And if
I
I'm-
would make a motion that we rescind the mask policy. So it will be kind of, this is the first time in my experience, it will if the vote goes through, that it just disappears.
Okay.
It's not a policy anymore, unless anyone understands it differently.
And I put out today again the guidelines from DESE, so that's out there again. I did do that last week as well. So any other updates that come out, they've said that there will be no further updates over the summer, that their mandates will stay in place over the summer, but if things change, we'll make sure everyone's aware of them.
Sounds good.
So I'd just like to make a motion to rescind the policy.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Warrants, Mrs. Dragonetti.
All right. The following warrants were issued and paid for fiscal year 2021. Bill warrants on May 6th, 2021, $56,586.70. On May 13th, 2021, $117,628.27. On May 20th, 2021, $119,364.21. And on May 27th, 2021, $15,547.90. The following payroll warrants were issued for May. May 14th, 2021, $513,857.95. And May 28th, 2021, $496,187.88. As always, all warrants are public record and once signed are available in the Selectman's office for review.
Thank you very much. We do need to go back. I neglected to do something. I apologize. We need to take a vote to Mr. Bodwell's evaluation. Just vote on it so that we can send it on to him. So as presented, I'd like to make the motion to submit Mr. Bodwell's evaluation as presented, as we went through it. We have a second?
Second.
And we'll take a roll call vote. Mrs. Smith?
Mrs. Smith, aye.
Mrs. Dragonetti?
Mrs. Dragonetti, I am going to abstain from this vote.
Okay. Mrs. Hume?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Yo?
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, public comment. Members of the audience wishing to address the committee may do so at this time. Audience members are reminded that personnel issues or issues that would violate student or employee confidentiality cannot be addressed during the public comment. Mrs. Sullivan.
You just voted on it, right? So we're good. So I just wanted to make a particular comment with regard to the evaluation. First of all, thank you for allowing me and asking me to do the evaluation. We worked together for a year, and I accept that as an honor and a privilege to do that, Mr. Bodwell, so thank you. Particular comment for the rating for Standard 2 under Management and Operations. In his first year as superintendent, Mr. Bodwell not only navigated a pandemic, he also faced a difficult situation when he was presented with concerns about an administrator's integrity and evidence of violations of school committee policies. Mr. Bodwell investigated these allegations and reviewed the evidence with respect and professionalism. Mr. Bodwell was not influenced by any third party, and he communicated his concerns effectively with both the individual administrator and the school committee. In fact, during this time, Mr. Bodwell also received an anonymous public records request, another first in his first year as superintendent. Mr. Bodwell remains compliant with all state and local laws and spent a considerable amount of time, his own and the technology departments, and school resources, for example, fees that were spent on attorney's fees, or money that was spent on attorney's fees. When Mr. Bodwell had completed his gathering of emails and other requested documents, he attempted to email his response, only to find out that the anonymous requester had deleted their email address. Mr. Bodwell never wavered in his performance and continued to remain transparent and informative and maintained a balance in performing his duties. And a last comment, which is the overall superintendent kind of statement. Mr. Bodwell dedicated a tremendous amount of time, energy, and thought to address so many needs and situations created by the pandemic. So many categories that demanded attention and leadership, such as the learning model developments, technology integration, continuation of food services, and the daunting task of gathering and communicating DESE and CDC rules and protocols to the district. Mr. Bodwell developed a team of school committee members, administrators, teachers, and families to collaborate and focus various skill sets and resources to support students and families and create a learning environment that was second to none. Mr. Bodwell's #1 priority was always to keep kids and teachers safe. Now that we're looking at the restrictions of the pandemic in the rearview mirror, I look forward to supporting Mr. Bodwell with his goal of continuous support and providing resources that best serve the mental health needs of our students and staff. I also look forward to Mr. Bodwell's plans of drafting a statement of interest to build a new elementary school. Our Wildcat pride is always moving us forward. Thank you.
Alrighty, I'd just like to say a couple of things here because this is our last meeting until August 23rd. I want to, say thank you to everybody who was involved here, Mr. Bodwell and the administration, getting ready to go here and for this unorthodox school year of how it all came together. Everything that needed to go into the hard work that went into this whole thing this year, and just the unexpected that happened every day. And I believe Mr. Bodwell and his staff just tackled it right head on. And sure there were bumps and bruises along the way, but we're about 10 days away here from this thing ending this school year and hopefully getting back to a full regular-based school learning system next year. Also, Julie Hamlin and her staff at all the schools, the cleanliness, the deep cleaning, the above and beyond that her staff went to get the schools ready and being safe. To our bus company, that was tough with the seating on the buses, to getting the kids here and picked up and spacing out on the buses. And I mean, there was a lot of work that really went into this school year, and everybody deserves a lot of credit. And finally, the teachers. My gosh, from the cohorts to in-person to virtual learning, to having to wipe the desks down as soon as the students left, to making sure the students are walking one way in a hallway and going the proper ways, and a lot of stuff dumped in their plate. They rose above it. They worked diligently. They worked hard, and I don't envy the position they were in all year with the kids and my computer wasn't working, my Wi-Fi wasn't working, or somebody being in school. So to all of our teachers, all of the schools, thank you so much for the school year. We'll finish it up here in a couple weeks and hopefully get things back to normal at the end into August. So thank you very much to everybody involved. All right, any other public comment? Nope. All right. Our announcements. All right, district-wide athletic boosters meeting, June 9th, 2021, 7 p.m. at the Middle High School Learning Commons. The superintendent's coffee hour, June 11th, 2021, at 9 a.m. It will be virtual. The last day of school is June 16th, 2021. It's a half day. Electronic report card distribution will be done on June 16th, 2021. At the Middle Senior High School, June 9th, Grade 8 Civics MCAS, June 9th through the 11th, Chicago the Musical. Hopefully everybody can get out to that, support the drama club there. That'd be really nice. June 11th, the coffee hour is at 8 a.m. June 15th, Middle School Field Day, afternoon only. June 16th, Grade 8 Recognition Ceremony at 9 a.m. At the Howard School, June 8th, 6th grade Moving On Ceremony. Rain date will be June 10th. Our next regular scheduled school committee meeting will be August 23rd at 6:30 p.m. here in the Middle Senior High School Learning Commons. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. Have a good summer.